Hello and welcome to the NIL Edge, the show where the people shaping the future of name, image, and likeness talk about what's working and where NIL is headed next. Each episode, we feature candid conversations with NIL directors, athletic department leaders, and industry partners who are building real solutions for student athletes. If you work in an athletic department, represent a brand, or want a clear understanding of how NIL works and where it's going, you're in the right place. This podcast is produced in partnership with NIL Newsstand and Digital Sport by Hot Paper Lantern. I'm your host, Sterling Randall. I come from the world of strategic communications and collegiate athletics, and now I work at the intersection of sports, brand, and NIL strategy. I'm very excited for today's episode. We're joined by Travis Hansen from BYU. Without further ado, let's get into it. Really excited for today's guest in Travis Hansen from BYU, who's the Senior Associate Athletic Director for NIL and RevShare. He oversees the university's student athlete branding, education, and partnership strategy, where he plays a critical role in helping athletes navigate the ever-evolving world of NIL. He helps them by building support systems, aligning campus resources, and helping foster strong relationships with brands and other partners. Having been a professional athlete and a student athlete himself, Travis brings in a thoughtful, athlete-centered perspective to NIL and has helped shape BYU's approach in the new era of collegiate athletics. Travis, thank you so much for joining us. And how the heck are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on and being patient with me as we found a good time to do this.
No, that's totally fine. I want to be full, frank, and transparent to all of our listeners. Not only am I excited to have Travis on here because I watched him play college basketball while I was growing up, but I'm a BYU alum. Travis and I both went to high school in the same city. Well, I wouldn't call my high school a rival to his because mine was terrible at every sports, but you know, it's always exciting when you get to talk to someone else from Orem, Utah.
Orem, Utah, one of the best places on earth. Very, very grateful. Yeah, I'm just a kid that grew up loving BYU and grew up with goodly parents. My mom and dad were the best people on earth.
That's probably something that we can share. We can talk a little bit more about Orem at the end, but I want to just jump straight into it. Tell me, obviously I mentioned that you were a student athlete at BYU. Failed to mention that you played basketball, but tell me a little bit about your role at BYU and how you got here to what you're doing today.
Yeah, I'm just a kid that grew up loving BYU. My earliest memories are, my mom raising us and teaching us how to work hard and to love Jesus and to be good people. She'd say, "Don't be weird, DBW," and she'd have to define what weird is. If you don't like doing dishes, that's weird. Your wife's going to want you to learn how to do dishes and work hard. And you don't like doing, getting good grades, that's weird. You got to get good grades. Nerds go to heaven. And, I just love my mom and dad. I love my siblings, love my family. We were a sports family growing up. And when I turned 18, my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And we lost my mom after about 90-day battle. And it was really, really, really hard. And one of the things I remember about my mom is her waking me up at 6 a.m. singing the fight song, "Rise and shout, the Cougars are out," and she's like, "Get out of bed." And so my family loved BYU. My mother-in-law watches every sport, every highlight, every Sports Nation episode. She bleeds blue also. And then my dad was a total sports guy, and he played football at Rick's College and a little bit of basketball, and he taught me how to work hard and how to have discipline. And so I come from a family where BYU wasn't just a school. It really was this glue that brought our family together and also was kind of a spiritual anchor to us. And so, mentors shaped me. I came here, I had Coach Cleveland. He believed in me. Coach Rose taught me good things. The BYU faculty, the administration, the people, they raised me, and they truly lifted me like a village. And so after I got the opportunity to go play professional basketball all around the world, I went into private equity. Then we built businesses. My wife and I co-founded a nonprofit for children. And so I've spent the majority of my life trying to build things that matter and to put an orange ball in a rim in a basket. And then all out of nowhere, BYU asked me to come and join them in this leadership role. And it really did feel like my Heavenly Father, who I believe in God and Jesus, they had a plan that they said, everything you've learned as a missionary, an athlete, an entrepreneur, a bishop, a husband, a father, bring it here, and we could use it and help these student athletes and these coaches. So this really isn't a job to me; it's a calling, to build transformational experiences for our coaches and young people.
Yeah, obviously BYU, to say it very simply, it's a different place, right? It's different from a lot of institutions in the NCAA. It's different from all the institutions in the Big 12. What guiding principles help you and BYU as a whole when it comes to NIL?
The mission. It'll always be the mission. We believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ, and we believe in entering and learning and progressing, and then going forward and serving and doing good, being a force for good around the world. Another guiding principle is that these student athletes mean everything to us. We want them we want to help them succeed in every aspect of their lives, spiritually, academically, financially, socially. We want them to be incredible professionals and teammates and mothers, fathers, disciples, contributors to the world. And so, we focus on identity before influence and social media. We focus on stewardship over, brands or being cool or the spotlight. And we definitely focus on purpose over profit. So if we get these things right, everything else usually falls in place.
So you mentioned a word that I want to go back to, and we had talked about this when you and I had talked previously, right? You really, and you said it multiple times when we talked previously, but you said that NIL at BYU is transformational and not transactional, right? And then you just said that NIL is really centered around the mission of BYU, right? Enter to learn, go forth to serve. How does that work at BYU when you're working with brands and really helping these connections feel authentic and transformational and not transactional?
Yeah, it's a good question. NIL to us at BYU is a tool. It's not our mission. Our mission is far greater than that. We are grateful for our donors and partners, and fan base for enabling BYU to compete with the best teams in the country. They've allowed us to secure a seat at the table for the most talented athletes. But BYU, our focus is on transformational experiences, not transactional ones. So we help players find identity beyond the jersey, purpose beyond the paycheck. You can sign the biggest NIL deal in the world and make all the money in the world, but you could still feel empty. And relationships matter, experiences matter, your faith, your brotherhood, your sisterhood, your families. And so at BYU, we teach athletes that find joy that lasts far beyond their playing days. And that joy comes from the gospel of Jesus Christ. And so NIL, we want to match with brands that care about that. We want to match with brands that care about these student athletes, that care about them, not just, to get the impressions and the ROI and the views so they can get a return on their investment, or their product or service will sell more. But we want these brands to care about these athletes, not only while they're playing basketball and football and running track, but after their playing days end at some point.
And so what does that look like, right? How do you help student athletes understand the value of their own personal brand and aligning that with their own goals and values and BYU's values? Because obviously, and I know we want to talk about this a little later, but BYU student athletes are different. There's probably a lot more married student athletes at BYU than there is at any other NCAA institution. There's probably more mothers and fathers that are student athletes at BYU than there is any other institution. So how do you help align those with their personal brand and then the values of the brands that they're working with?
Yeah, I mean, every young man and young lady is different. Every student athlete is very unique in their perspective. And so you have to start where they are. You have to learn about their own goals, their family, their background, their story, their heart. We talk about where they're from and where they want to go. Then we help them dream. It's so fun. I still 25 years of marriage, 5 beautiful kids. I'm so grateful. Nothing more important than my wife and kids, but we still go for drives and dream and think what's going to happen with our kids, or who are they going to marry, or are you feeling intuitively anything that are we missing? Should I go on a daddy-daughter date with Hallie, who's my 15-year-old who loves volleyball, and she's in that junior high to high school transition? Is there something that we're missing there? And so you kind of have to have a sixth sense for these student athletes as you meet them, and then help them dream and help them build a vision for their life, who they want to become and what they want to stand for. And then we teach them how to express that with consistency. And branding really is just identity expressed with consistency. And once we know the person, we connect them with the brands that reflect that identity.
I know, and I might be putting you on the spot here, but you had quite the relationship with Igor last year. Can you share a little bit more about them? About that? You said, just barely. It's talking to these student athletes about, what their goals are, greater than on and off the court. If you don't mind, do you mind sharing some of those conversations that you had with him and how that's helped him develop into what he's doing in the NBA right now?
Yeah, I mean, Yegor came from Moscow, Russia, by way of Real Madrid in Madrid, Spain, a club I played for, and friends and relationships that I have over there. And then, by chance, destiny happened, and he came to BYU. And so when a young man from, Moscow, Russia, or Madrid, Spain, comes to BYU, they need friends, they need relationships, they need to learn how to use the washer and dryer, and how to drive. He didn't have a driver's license, and so they need mentors. I think we all do in our lives. We need guides. The times we're most vulnerable is when we move, or when we're starting something new. I mean, imagine moving into a new country. And so we bonded over the language, the culture of Spain and Russia, and also Provo, Utah, and here in America. And we had him over to dinner almost every Sunday. He loved to see how our family interacted. We all put all our kids to work. We don't want mom and dad making all the meal. It's a team game over at the Hansen household. And who's on the potatoes, the asparagus? Mason, you got the steak, start the barbecue. Who's got the water? Who's setting the table? And Yegor, get off your butt. Get over here. You got to do some work too. Start chopping some cucumbers for the salad. And he got to see how our family interacted. We usually do gratitude at the table, and share what we're grateful for, to remind ourselves of the Sabbath day, and also all the things that we are so blessed in this life. And then we'd do like a come follow me and play cards or hang out afterwards. And so we bonded over family. That his family to him in Moscow, being away from his mom and dad and his brother, is so dear to him. His first, he hadn't had a birthday cake or a birthday party in 3 years, and so we threw him a birthday party when it was his special day. And so these student athletes need all that. They need people to genuinely care about them, and they need people to invest in them. And if they do so, they have all the capacity to be great in anything they choose to do. And so, they did it for me when I was at BYU. You know how many people just took care of me and put me under their wing, and whether it was teammates or coaches or faculty or admin or the president of the university. And it's just remarkable, this community that Cougar Nation, that Yegor gets to be a part of, and all our student athletes. So another reason why I couldn't pass the opportunity to come back and be a good steward of a department that and an institution that completely changed my life.
Yeah. I mean, because you've been given, you too must give. What, and we've talked, you talked a little bit about it, right? With mentorship. So what other support systems has BYU created to help student athletes prepare themselves for NIL opportunities? I know there's the Built for Life program. What else can you tell us more about?
Yeah, I think one of the things we're most proud of here in the athletic department is the Built for Life, and Trevor Wilson, who leads that. Trevor is a blessing and a gift to BYU. it's the crown jewel of our athletic department. It teaches athletes how to manage money, understand taxes, build a network, develop leadership, and prepare like so many different ways, spiritually, academically. This fall in 2026, we're going to launch a course in connection with the BYU Business School. And it's going to be alongside a phenomenal faculty. And it's not just for athletes. It's for all BYU students.
Cool.
Because we're building, and we have before, and we're going to continue to do so, CEOs, missionaries, mothers, fathers, bishops, stake presidents, but also sports management front office people, and front office executives. So we want BYU to be the place their students come. And if they want to work in the NBA, NFL, NHL, college athletics, we want to teach them how to be extraordinary in their fields. And that's one of the systems that's pretty unique at BYU, is that mentorship, academic, and really accustomed to helping them succeed.
We talked about this a little bit earlier, but obviously BYU student athletes come from a huge variety of backgrounds, right? Whether that be, their own family situation, or speaking another language, or being from a different part of the world. What unique challenges or opportunities does that create in the NIL space? Have there been some like unique brands that have wanted to work with a different student athlete because of the experiences they have had in a different part of the world, or it's because, hey, this student athlete speaks Spanish?
Yeah, there's always that. We're just getting into international companies that are really excited of partnering. We have a great group of local companies that love our student athletes. And the cool thing about BYU is it's a global brand. Every athlete's story is different. Every business's story is different, how they got started and who started and what they're founded on and what values. And so matching those two together is really, really fun. Everyone's circumstances are different. And so our job is to meet the athletes where they are and the businesses where they are and connect the two of them. And, this is what we've done in business for a long time. It's really fun. It's the power of BYU is this melting pot of diverse talents, but not diverse values.
I like that. So it's really funny what you said with meeting, meeting the student athletes and meeting the brands where they are. That's something that has been a very common thread with every guest that we've had on. Specifically talking about it from the brand side. When those conversations are taking place and you're talking to brands, what does that look like? Are you the ones that are having, is it you personally that are having those conversations with brands? Is it the athletic director? Who in the administration is having those brands conversation with brands at the local and national level? And what kind of, what are those conversations? What do they look like? What happens when you have those conversations?
Oh my gosh. In every way, every person, every student athlete, every coach, the family members of our student athletes, everyone's having conversations about it. And it's young, student athletes that want to build their brand, and they're reaching out to local people that they know that are in their community that are excited about supporting them. It's businesses that are nationally known, public traded companies that are reaching out and say, man, that athlete's special. We love his personality and his or her brand. We want to partner with them. It's businesses reaching out about our coaches that they'd love for them to be a spokesperson because they love how they teach and they love how they love their student athletes and their culture. I wonder if we could implement that type of culture in our company. And so everyone's having conversations, and it's everyone's responsibility to help these student athletes and businesses connect with each other.
And so I want to go back to something that you said, and it aligns with what you just said with a lot of people reaching out to BYU. It's obviously because of the association with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and just where it sits in, the uniqueness of the university. It's a global brand, right? There's alumni across the whole entire world, and not just in the United States. So obviously there's a lot of, like you just said, publicly traded brands, or publicly traded companies. There's local brands, there's national brands that are reaching out to you. What are the qualities that then BYU looks for to ensure that those brands align with its mission and the needs of BYU student athletes?
Article of Faith 13. It's we want brands that align with our values, that do good, that build great products, that have integrity and quality, and that really love our student athletes. We have a close relationship with Nike. We have a close relationship with MacU and Nutricost and Zion. I mean, we have so many amazing brands that we work with that do an incredible job in their industry and their focus and their marketing. And so to connect them with our student athletes is super fun. Like we're constantly working on new campaigns, new content, and new ways for these brand to athlete NIL deals to work. So the space is changing every day. You have to stay informed and adaptable, but we're watching all the close trends and staying on top of it. We want to build the best NIL and rev share department in the nation.
So I think we talked about this when we first spoke. Are there any brands that or does it happen very often that there's people that reach out to BYU that aren't familiar and that you're like, hey, I don't think we necessarily, align? Or are they not, they're not reaching out to BYU unless they fully understand what BYU is and what the mission of the university is?
I mean, you have two categories. You have the ones that love BYU and they reach out because of BYU, and you have the ones that love the student athletes because they reach out because they have some type of connection with that athlete, whether it's their family, their personality, the way they play, or they just think they could be a great spokesperson for their company. And so you have all kinds.
I want to go back to something that you said, that you guys are, looking at trends, paying attention to trends. Is there something recently or that you guys are especially honed in on, or is there something that you guys think is going to kick up in the next little bit, or something that you guys are trying to get ahead of before we jump into, in all transparency, we're filming this before bowl season starts, or even before the NCAA tournament starts?
Yeah, I think the biggest trend we're watching, there's probably three that stand out to me, but the number one is the professionalization of college sports.
Mm-hmm.
Front office models, salary caps, revenue sharing, efficiency with the dollars, finding undervalued assets. It quickly is turning into a front office, and we want to be the best at that, and understand what that entails and build a great foundation for that going forward. Second is NIL, that brand to athlete NIL deals, not just endorsements, but true mentorship, allowing these athletes to learn. So we did a survey, and like 40% of our student athletes, I think GoDaddy did this nationally, 40% of them want deals. They want cash. 40% want to start their own business. They want to learn. They want to be entrepreneurs. They want to try new things. They want to be part of the whole process, the content generation and the posting and the scheduling and the strategic analysis of what they could do, what they couldn't do, what the ROI is behind that. And then you have a strong 20% of this generation that wants to give it all away. They literally, if they get anything, they rather just give it away to those in need, which is just amazing. I mean, let's talk about Bear Bachmeyer, who's an incredible freshman QB. He comes in my office the other day and says, hey, instead of this NIL deal that they're asking me about, how about we take that money, we go buy a bunch of teddy bears. He's heard about Elf on the Shelf. He's like, what about Bear on the Stair? I'm like, pretty creative, my friend. Let's go. I got one. Pretty creative, my friend. And so we make these teddy bears, and I'm like thinking he wants to sell them or make some money off them, and he's like, no, I had a time when my family needed help, and the Ronald McDonald House allowed us to stay there for 4 months when my family, members of my family, were in the hospital, and they took care of me. So I want to take these teddy bears with some blankets, and I want to go to the local Ronald McDonald House, and I want to give away and do good. And so these athletes have incredible hearts, and they're not just looking to build a business or make money, but they're also looking to do good. And that resonates deep into our hearts here at BYU.
What do you think, and now this might be like a really vague and too general of question, but where does that come from? Right? That need for Bear to feel like he needs to give back. Is that something, again, is that something that starts at home and then has been nourished at BYU? Do you think that's something that was, learned here, or where does that come from?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think all of the above. I think if you have good parents like I had, my mom and dad were always looking for opportunities to give back. Um, I think Kalani does an incredible job of constantly building a culture that gives back, that does good. And they bring in kids every week that have struggled with challenges and health concerns. They do an amazing job of giving back. I think a lot of these student athletes, I had one just in my office the other day that felt like she was too focused on her, and that she was missing out this Christmas season on the opportunity to give back. And something I've learned in my life, that true happiness comes from helping others. Like, you really do get the most joy. You can, hit the game winning basket and it brings you a ton of joy, and your teammate could hit it and you have joy for them. And yeah, you can do amazing things on and off the field, but helping people, mentor them, lift them, love them, I think is the ultimate happiness. And this proximity, and this is what Yegor talked about. Yegor was so funny the other day. He's like, man, I'm in Brooklyn. I'm tired. It's much more business. We travel a ton more. It's triple the games that we played in college. In the NBA, it's his first year. And he says, Provo, Utah just has a bunch of nice people. And I'm like, yeah, why do you think they're nice? He's like, I don't know. They're just nice. I'm like, no, it's the gospel of Jesus Christ that makes us nice. I'm not naturally a nice person. Like, did you watch me play basketball? I'm competitive. There's something wrong with me. Especially after my mom passed away. The sacred line of getting on the court allowed me not to think about that hurt and those challenges I was having with my mom. And so I competed so hard. But the gospel of Jesus Christ, that teaches you what he was like and the attribute he has, that's what makes you different. That's what makes you kind. You want to be like him. And so the proximity to that feeling, and enough people that are striving for that. We're imperfect and we're not there, but we're striving to be there. And that's what makes this place special. And so I think, when Bear's here, I'm sure he was a great kid before and had a great heart, but being here, it definitely puts a higher focus and more light on that part of life that brings us all true happiness.
Not to switch gears too much here, but if you, let's say whether it's talking with other members of the conference, or you're just talking with other NCAA institutions, and someone comes up to you and they're like, hey, Travis, we're trying to ramp up our NIL offerings. What's your one piece of advice? What's your one takeaway? What would you tell someone at a different athletic administration that's trying to ramp up their NIL offerings?
I mean, this is something we do in business. We do it with our athletes. I do it with my kids, that you got to start with the vision and then strategy. And then you got to build an A+ team around you. And then you got to do big deals. And so, what's your vision? And if you don't have one, then you got to find 5 people, do an NIL the right way, call them, ask questions, write down what they teach you, learn from each other, and then build, and iterate, and rapidly persist. So NIL is interesting because it's a startup, and the legislation's new, the settlement's new. No one really knows exactly where it's going, which I think is super fun. I love stuff like this. So set goals, persist relentlessly, and then just adjust along the way, and don't, lean into it. We've built companies from scratch, and it's super hard work. But it's exciting too. And it's a lot of fun. And so I would tell them that it's going to be a marathon. Buckle up, take your vitamins. It's going to be a fun ride, and learn from as many people as you can.
Okay. Last question before we switch into our little rapid fire section before we end. What's the one thing that you like? What's the most surprising thing with NIL for you? Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. What's been your most surprising takeaway?
I think people don't understand the difference between rev share and NIL. I think people don't understand the rules and NCAA and CSC. So there's just a lot of awareness and education that needs to be done, which we will get there, but I think the most surprising thing, honestly, is every deal that we've done. We have unbelievable student athletes, and you can see when they do get a deal, their confidence grow, and you can see them become more articulate, more professional, more responsible, because they have a contract with this business, and they have a deliverable, and they have things they got to do, and they learn to show up on time and to create content and to think like a business and to express gratitude for someone believing in them, that they would actually want to partner, take their business money, like real money, and invest it in this athlete.
Mm-hmm.
It's really changing lives. It's changing families. We've done millions and millions of dollars in deals in the last 6 months since I've been here, and we're just getting started. And it's beautiful to see the impact it's having on these young student athletes who've worked so hard their entire life, and it's given them confidence, and it's pushing them in ways to grow personally that they haven't ever done before.
I love that. That's great. Okay, so switching, we got our last two questions here. What's been your favorite NIL deal that you've seen so far? So it could be since NIL was introduced, or the favorite deal that you've helped be a part of?
All of them. They've been so fantastic. We want to do more. You can't be
like your children, Travis. You got to tell us one.
I do have a favorite, Gwen. I'm just kidding. My youngest. I love them all, man. I like them all. Every deal's been great. To be honest, we're super grateful here at BYU to be in the student athletes' lives and to partner with amazing businesses. So I can't choose one. Come on, guys, it's too good. This one's not bad though. This NIL deal's not bad. Bear on the stair coming to 2026.
Love it. Okay, last question here. Let's say I'm coming out and I'm visiting BYU, and I've never been there before. What's the go-to food spot that you're taking me to?
Go-to food spot that I'm taking you to, man. I like them all. I like Redmond's Farms Cafe or Farm to Table. I like Black Sheep.
Okay.
I like Gurus. I like Kitchen 88. Woo! Kitchen 88 in American Fork is solid. It's probably my number one right there.
Okay, book it. I think that's open since I left, so I'm not super familiar. So when I come back this summer, I'll add that to my to-do list.
That's the go-to. When I ask my wifey, I say, "Where do you want to go?" It's more times than not Kitchen 88.
Okay. Well, Travis, I really appreciate you joining us and filling us in on all the NIL happenings in BYU, and go Cougs.
Go Cougs. Appreciate you having me on. Lots of love to you guys.
Big thanks to Travis for joining us and sharing his perspective on NIL at BYU. If you want to continue the conversation, connect with me, Sterling Randall, on LinkedIn. You can find more episodes of NIL Edge on nilnewsstand.com and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Please don't forget to rate and review us. To learn more about the work we're doing at Digital Sport by Hot Paper Lantern, follow us on LinkedIn or visit hpldigitalsport.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.